years, his truck had been in several knocks. It hadn't suffered any serious damage, but did little for the cosmetics. It was an old workhorse and as tough as boots. Another dent was just another story to tell, as his dad had always laughed. Thinking about happier times brought a smile to his face. Pat rubbed his hands together and blew. He must have gone a whole 30 minutes without flexing his fingers against the steering wheel. "Going to take a lot more than a little ice and an argument with a tree to take this thing down," he assured her. "We should keep going then." He paused, his gaze once more searching her face. There was fear in her eyes. Was she scared of him? Or perhaps the accident had shaken her more than he realized. The weather wouldn't be helping either. It wasn't so common to have as much snow as they were getting, and it had already been a cold winter. If she wasn't from around here, then he could understand all too well. "I just need to make sure everyone's okay, then we can get you to the bus station." With that, he undid his seatbelt. His hand moved toward his keys in the ignition before his eyes once more shifted toward the woman. He couldn't leave her to shiver in the cold truck. But then he didn't like the idea of leaving the truck running while he assisted the motorcyclist. Tap, 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 tap. Sighing, he reassured himself he'd only be gone a moment. It wouldn't make sense to take the keys, and they would both be stuck in a cold truck when he returned. He'd rather let the heater rattle about and keep the interior and the engine warm. "I'll be right back," he said, opening his door. His feet hit the icy ground. With the shock of the cold, his head spun and his knees trembled, his dodgy leg almost giving way under him. Pressing a hand to the cold metal of his truck, he waited, steadying himself. The feeling passed quickly, but he hesitated. A head injury was the last thing he needed right now. Thankfully, no more dizzy spells hit him as he turned toward the dark night. Other than his truck rumbling away, the night was quiet. He frowned as he moved toward the back of his vehicle. He couldn't immediately make out where the motorcycle had landed. Further along, there was a small ditch, just enough to help drain the fields in the rainy months. Though it would be enough to cause injury to someone thrown from a motorcycle. A shadow emerged from the dark. Pat's hand went to his waist. Old habits refusing to die. A man appeared, limping. In an instant, Pat jumped forward to help the man, catching him under the arm to take his weight. "Sit over here, and I can take a look." Pat guided him to his truck. The man nodded, a grimace on his face as he gingerly rested against the trunk. "Shouldn't have been speeding through the snow like that," Pat told him. "Sure way to get yourself injured. Trust me when I say, nothing is worth the endless physical therapy you would have faced over a more serious crash." The man grunted and went quiet as Pat ran his hands over the man's left leg. Nothing felt broken, which was good. Without EMS, the man would either have been riding his bike to the emergency room, or Pat would have been making another stop. "Seems like you've got a sprain. Thankfully, nothing more serious." A nod was the only thanks Patrick got before the engine let out a throaty noise. The only warning as his truck suddenly lurched forward. With squealing tires, the vehicle jacked forward again, leaving him and the stranger to stumble away, watching in horror as it sped off.
Holly. Alone in the cab of the truck, Holly tried to calm her racing heart. She'd barely made it out of the hospital, only to land herself in a car crash. Her escape wasn't going well. The man, Patrick, seemed nice enough, but she didn't trust him, especially as he'd gotten out to help the motorcyclist. She knew it was the nurse out there. Hands clenched into fists, her eyes checked the rearview mirror. Patrick was talking to someone, a figure drenched in shadows. Her heart skipped a beat as she waited for the familiar face to reveal itself. She so desperately wanted it to be a stranger. Some poor soul caught out on their bike, eager to get home.